Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dr. Chris Bowman. I'm a pediatric and family chiropractor at Trailhead Family Chiropractic. And we are so blessed today to have Dr. Donna Ruiz, MD. She's an integrative pediatrician. Her business is Wellness Center for Integrative Pediatrics. She is board certified through the American Board of Pediatrics and double boarded in integrative medicine through the American Board of Integrative Medicine and American Board of Integrated Holistic Medicine. Her special interests lie in treating with children with chronic diseases who suffer from PANS or PANDAS, Lyme disease and other co-infections, mold toxicity, mast cell activating syndrome. Besides being trained as an allopathic physician, treatment modalities Dr. Ruiz incorporates into her clinical practice include functional medicine, clinical homeopathy, medical acupuncture, herbs, dietary support, IV nutritional therapies, including ozone to treat various acute and chronic health conditions. I'm also super happy to bring her on because she's also my family's pediatrician. Rosie had a health issue not too long ago, and we turned to Dr. Ruiz, and we got things cured up really, really quickly, and we had a wonderful experience with her. And we know that if there's something that I can't figure out, or there's something that I want backup on, I know Dr. Ruiz is going to be the one that's going to care for my family like her own kids, and really just going to investigate to get to the root cause of the problem, rather than just treating disease or saying it's in your head. So we have a really cool agenda today. Obviously, you guys are all aware of the coronavirus and whatnot going around. This has sparked a lot of conversations in my own office about, man, what can I do to support my immune system? Are my kids safe? Or what kind of things can I be doing to support my body? And so while this is not a specific what to do to fight against coronavirus video, we figured what better time to talk about how to support the immune system no matter what viruses are out there. Because I mean, truth be told, the stats say, influenza and pneumonia and whatnot, our kids are more likely to get one of these things than actually the coronavirus right now. And so the focus is going to be on what can we do to have healthy immune systems for our kids so that when health challenges come our way, we know our bodies are well prepared, and then we can further bolster the immune system as well. So thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Ruiz.
Thank you for inviting me, Chris.
Yeah, of course.
You have so much kind words for me. But anyway, you're right. Our healthy immune system is key right now to avoiding illness and actually creating and building resilience. So let's start off with foods, because, I believe food is medicine, right? And it's our best defense this time. And we're lucky to live in California because we have an abundance of fresh fruits and vegetables. And I always say, eat with the seasons. So believe it or not, it's spring. And it's time to load up on all our, phytonutrients and healthy foods. And I usually say, look at your plate, look at your child's plate and make sure it's colorful. So you should have the colors of white, you have green, orange, red, and purple. So some of the foods that I like are onions because it's rich in quercetin, and that's great for gut health as well as lung support this time of year. Don't forget cauliflower and garlic. And everybody knows about your green vegetables like spinach and broccoli because they contain sulforaphane, especially your fermented broccoli sprouts. But don't also forget celery and lettuce because those are rich in flavonoids like apigenin. Your sweet potatoes is great for fiber-rich foods. Don't forget carrots. Peaches are seasonal this time of year, so as strawberries and cherries are coming up. But blueberries, especially frozen blueberries, are great because it contains anthocyanins, and that's a great antioxidant. And I love, of course, eggplant. That's one of my favorites. So I always tell my patients to, avoid the dirty dozen and eat the clean 15. So there's a great website. I think everybody knows about it already. It's called the Environmental Working Group. It's ewg.org. And you can look at the list of foods there. And I know as of last year, the top one was strawberries. Before that, it was apples. And everybody knows about processed foods, so we don't have to talk about processed foods. But even energy bars, if you don't, think about it, and protein bars, and even artificial vegan cheese and what they call meat products, like I don't want to put labels out there, but they're all processed in general, and they're full of chemicals. So, I always tell my patients, read labels. The kids are great. They start reading labels. If you can't pronounce something, then it's not good for you.
Right.
So if you go to the grocery store, all the healthiest food are really in the periphery. Everything else is all processed in the middle. So that's where we should, really be focusing on, especially now. If you go to a lot of the stores, you still have a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, right? But all the processed stuff is out. But that's not what your body needs. And sugar, you could tell me what sugar does to your body.
Right.
it triggers inflammation, stress, adrenal dysfunction over time, even intestinal permeability, which we all call leaky gut. So the sad news is, fructose is a huge source of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is actually epidemic in our country right now.
Mm-hmm.
And eating also the wrong fats like polyunsaturated fatty acids. So load up on monosaturated oils like extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, and I always say coconut oil, but in moderation, of course.
Sure.
Don't forget to get your omegas in there, especially your omega-3 fish oils. The EPA component is so important for being anti-inflammatory, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to make sure that especially if your kids are eating sugar, because sometimes you have to bribe them for something, that you're balancing it out on the other end of the spectrum, like a fish oil or something.
Right. And I always tell my parents, I go, don't use food as a reward.
No, that's good. Even better.
Right? Because then they get used to the sweetness of everything else.
All right. So you named some things that, I'm sure most parents don't even eat, nor most parents don't even know how to prepare. If you're providing, eggplant or cauliflower, these ones, how would you suggest that we prepare those or get them in, our kids if they don't like eating them plain? Like what are different, creative ways that we can include them in our kids' diet?
Well, that's interesting because, kids are picky, but they love colorful things. So I always say rotate your foods, be creative. I mean, there's so many YouTube videos out there and, ways to prepare food, whether you're steaming them, whether they're in a smoothie. A lot of my patients who have chronic disease, unfortunately, are on a ton of supplements. And the only way they could get them in is if they can't swallow capsules is through smoothies, which is great because, it puts your greens in there. You have all your sulforaphane, your antioxidants, your polyphenols, your flavonoids. I mean, it's like a soup full of nutrients.
Right. Superfood. One question that I get asked a lot, and I didn't prepare you for this question, so sorry. When we're talking about, blueberries and strawberries and all these foods being high in, antioxidants, what does that actually mean? Like we all say we need more antioxidants. What does that actually mean, for the body? What are oxidants or, doing? What is it actually battling?
So what happens is the number one cause or trigger of underlying disease is inflammation. So by eating foods that are rich in oxidants, you're decreasing what they call free radicals. And free radicals can cause inflammation, eventually what they call oxidative stress. Gotcha. So by eating these oxidant-rich foods, you're actually decreasing inflammation and in turn decreasing oxidative stress.
Gotcha.
And there are actually supplements that you could take to that are antioxidants and immune boosters.
Yeah. So on the reverse side of it then, if our kids grew up eating Chick-fil-A, In-N-Out, and these highly processed, not very colorful foods at all, we're continually building inflammation, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure you've seen a lot of patients just like me where they turn 10 and they get a random cold or something like that, and it starts this whole cascade of autoimmune or gut issues or this and that and the other thing, and parents are like, how did my kid just get this thing by a cold or whatever? And I'm sure your answer is pretty similar to mine. It's like, well, let's look at the past 10 years of eating habits. And if you're constantly shoveling in inflammation without the proper, antioxidants or, just getting rid of it at all, you're building disease, right? Disease can only live in a toxic environment.
And what's alarming, they're predicting by the year 2025, 8 out of 10 kids will have a chronic disease.
Wow.
And you're talking something simple like asthma, eczema. I mean, when I grew up, you didn't really see that stuff. Now everybody's on an inhaler.
Right.
And it's pretty alarming. I mean, the youngest kid that I saw in my practice has Crohn's disease, and that was the age of 5. And there is no family history of any type of autoimmune disease.
Oh, my word.
So what's happening? Our environment is so toxic, right? Our body can't detox.
Right.
Our liver is the number one organ to help detox. And if we can't, detox with our liver from the foods we eat, the nutrients we put in our food, in our system, I mean, what's going to happen?
So eating high fructose corn syrup is actually a double-edged sword, in that you're getting sugar, food dyes, all that other stuff. But then we're also taxing our liver, which inhibits our ability to detox the other stuff that we're taking.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So, when you see high fructose corn syrup, it's like an alarm. Stay away.
Yeah.
Don't touch it.
I saw this stat a little while ago, and I'll fact check it and, put it on there. But I think it was something like 80% of the American calories are from high fructose corn syrup.
I believe it, but you know, we're lucky because like most of the patients that I attract in my practice are pretty healthy, except for those who have chronic disease.
Right.
So it's not like you don't have to preach to them about
Yeah.
nutrition because that's, you know, that's what they eat.
Yeah.
Most of them they eliminated gluten, they eliminated dairy, or, you know, for whatever reasons, including corn and soy.
Right.
So, you know, a big part of my practice isn't really educating them in nutrition because they're so educated already. It's trying to figure out all the other stuff.
Exactly. Yep. And that's why we love you as well. Cause like I'm obviously fairly educated in this stuff too. And when I can't figure something out or when I need to know what to do, I want somebody with that like next level of understanding that's going to be able to find, you know, the needle in the haystack. Which really brings us to our next point. If we have a healthy diet rich in antioxidants, rich in various different types of colors, you're going to have a full spectrum of things that your immune system needs to fight inflammation and to fight infection. But let's say, however, we are, you know, we don't eat as many foods as, you know, those foods as we want, or, you know, things like that. What things would you recommend on a daily level of supplementation? We're taking, you know, summer, winter, fall, spring, and then what type of things, like maybe now when, maybe not like now, but like going into the flu season or, you know, whatever, when immune systems seem to be a little bit more compromised, what things should we step up or take away?
Well, all my patients are on probiotics. Well, you know, probiotics increase gut microbiome diversity, but also helps with your adaptive and your innate immune system. So 80% of our neurotransmitters are in our gut. And it's interesting, there was a double-blind study that was done through the prestigious Journal of Pediatrics, and this was maybe 8-9 years ago, and they looked at several strains of lactobacilli and bifidobacterium. And those who took this chewable probiotic, especially during the cold and flu winter season, had less upper respiratory infections.
Wow.
So, I mean, so that's key. The other thing is vitamin D. You know, we're not in the sun anymore. That 20-minute rule doesn't exist. You know, our ozone layer is so toxic out there. So I even give, you know, vitamin D3 with K2 to my, you know, breastfed baby patients. And I always like to get a baseline level. So the general rule of thumb would be for 25 pounds, you give about 1,000 IUs. So like in like a 50-pound kid, he'll get about 2,000. When they're sick, I bump up the doses for a couple of days. And for those who have autoimmune disease, you really want to have their baseline levels checked because you want high levels. I mean, for functional measures, they're even saying up to 80 or even 100.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It sounds, I mean, mine was like 112 when I last checked. But knock on wood, I've been pretty healthy.
Yeah, right.
So that's a great thing. Well, the other one, you know, people think about is vitamin C. There's so many forms of vitamin C, and vitamin C is an antioxidant. And now it's like, it's in such short supply. I mean, I can't even get it. It's back ordered. I think I'm getting another order in next week because I love the liposomal form. I don't know what form you like using, but it's more bioavailable because our cells possess this membrane that's composed of phospholipid bilayers. And it also, studies have shown it shortens the duration and frequency of the common cold and even the incidence of pneumonia.
Wow.
And then there's zinc, right? Everyone's talking about zinc. And zinc is a cofactor in over 300 metabolic processes. It helps with glutathione production. It helps with our immune defenses. It acts as an RNA polymerase inhibitor, effective against a lot of viruses, especially this time of year. And people don't realize that there are different forms of zinc. So I always recommend the chelated form. And sometimes the names that you'll see will be like citrate, zinc gluconate, picolinate, and there are other forms. But just remember, if you have a bellyache, you become nauseous, you're not really, you know, sensitive to the zinc element. It's more of the binders in the zinc. And then there's a whole nother, I don't know if I want to open this up, you know, to herbals, right? Because that's all over the internet. Echinacea, elderberry. I mean, there are other things like scutellaria and andrographis that support your immune system. Elderberry, everybody knows it as, you know, sambucus. That acts as an antiviral by blocking transcriptase. And it also has been shown in vitro studies to shorten the duration and inhibit H1N1 infection.
Wow.
So there's a lot of scientific evidence out there. There's tons of, you know, traditional use backing up herbal medicine, but there's also a lot of controversy, especially with the COVID-19 right now. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, I literally just participated in a Corona defense video series that launched yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to invite you and all your viewers, because it was hosted by my good friend, Dr. Joel Walsh, and he brings together other wellness partners, MDs, and celebrities, and he gives them tons of information to safeguard us during this crisis. And the big thing is it's free. So everybody's at home, so, listen up, get educated, and then I can always give you the website. It's pretty easy. You just have to, it's integrativepediatrics.com and then /corona. And then you can listen to whoever you want. It's ongoing.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'll be super helpful because that's a whole nother can of worms that.
I know. We don't have time for all that.
No, we don't have time for all that.
I wish we did.
Right? We could just make this a reoccurring thing and just Chris and Donna on Wednesday at lunch. Moving into kind of like the last part of it, I'm sure you see a lot of patients as well, especially during this time. And I know the hospitals are too. People are feeling shortness of breath or feeling, symptoms that they say are related to coronavirus, when in reality they're having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, or they're much more emotionally wound up. They're 10xing their physical symptoms, psychosomatically. They're drumming them up in their mind, and not on purpose, but because I saw I don't know how they do it, but they count how many times the media is saying, a word, and H1N1 and whatnot were, a few million, few hundred million. They said coronavirus over 2.1 billion times.
Are you serious?
Our news has. Over all over everything. And so obviously you cannot escape, even us, you cannot escape, this right now. And so what can we do for us as parents and for our kids? What family practices do you think we can do that will help balance or really detox the junk that goes through our ears and get stuck, in between them? How can we just knock it out the other side and really not cause a psychosomatic, disease that eventually, incubates and becomes, a physical issue?
Absolutely. Well, the other thing is we need to optimize our adrenals, right? Because you could take adaptogens, like we all know, like ashwagandha or rhodiola, but it's important to get enough sleep. So sleep is restorative. So one study found that if we slept less than 5 hours, if we had less than 5 hours of sleep, we had a 350% chance of developing a rhinovirus-associated cold compared to those who slept for 7 hours or more.
Wow.
And then the other thing that's important with sleep is it ensures that we secrete what they call melatonin. So as we age, we don't make enough melatonin. And people don't realize that melatonin is very neuroprotective. Those who have cancer take ridiculous amount of doses. We even say 400 milligrams.
Wow.
But I'm not even saying to we only have to take 3 milligrams because that has an antioxidant protective property too.
Oh, cool.
And they're showing that the reason why kids are less affected now during this virus is because melatonin plays a role in reducing the virulence. Wow. So kids have lots and lots of stores of melatonin, especially pregnant women. Kids have 10 times the amount of melatonin we have as adults.
Interesting.
But even though they might have enough melatonin, kids have sleep problems, right? So the other thing is think of, we have 5G, it's all over us. Look, we're surrounded by it. You and I are we're doing another Zoom meeting. So think of EMF, electromagnetic frequency. Think of blue light in your room. If you can't, if you're too wired and tired, if there's a blue light in your room, because a lot of us use diffusers and essential oils, well, that blue light could stimulate your pineal gland and keep you up. So if you don't shut your cell phone, that's another source of blue light. I always say put on airplane mode. If you're lucky, turn your Wi-Fi router, off at night. And there's a great website, and I have no financial interest to it. It's called safehealingtechnologies.com. And you could look, and it helps you look for any EMF protection for those who are really, really sensitive.
Gotcha.
But like you said, stress. Well, what does stress do to your body? Well, psychological stress, disrupts your immune function. It increases pro-inflammatory cytokines, especially interleukin-6. So like you said, that word corona has been, if we had to count how many times, like you said, it's out there. So be careful what you watch. Be selective. Remember, kids pick up on your vibration. So if you tend to be anxious or negative during this stressful time, your kids will pick up on that because they're home with you. And grounding. I mean, grounding is so key. How do we ground? Well, connect. I always tell my patients, kind of sounds silly, but, get a patch of grass and just take your shoes off. We weren't born with shoes, right? And walk barefoot on the ground. What was I going to say? A lot of us have our own garden, so you can dig in your garden or even go for a walk. And you could even do a meditation mindfulness walk. If you're stressed out, I mean, sometimes when I get stressed out, I look for the oldest tree and I'll hug a tree.
There you go.
Yeah. I know it sounds silly, but those are things you could do. And the most important is breathe. Why do we need to breathe? Well, infants have the best breath because they do belly breathing. And belly breathing activates your vagus nerve. And by activating our vagus nerve, we're getting out of that, flight or flight mode, and it helps us rest, digest, relax, and heal. It also decreases, cortisol, increases our heart rate variability, makes us more alert, less anxious, and depressed. So a couple of apps that I like for kids, it's the Stop, Breathe, Think Kids app. And there's another one if you have an iPhone that you could download, and it's actually free. It's if you're visual, let me see if I could put it on my phone. It's called Rest, Be, Relax with the plus sign, and it's actually from France, but you don't have to know French to do it. And it's just a bubble, and it's 5 minutes. I don't know if you could see this. Oh, I took the sound off.
And it
There.
Up and shrink.
You see anything? See that?
Yeah.
And breathe, you just breathe with the bubble.
Right.
5 minute thing. Inhale and exhale. And kids love it.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that in this modern age we have to talk about thinking or breathing,
I know,
it's supposed
right?
to be an autonomic process, but we have to consciously actually breathe. And in my report of findings, every time I do it, I mention forward head posture changes or reduces vital lung capacity by 30%.
Oh, right. And all of us are like this, right? We're all looking down at our screens. We're all looking down at our computers. I mean, I'm guilty of that too.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And so, like you said, breathing is so important. And so to piggyback off what you said, don't do that exercise like this, because then you're never going to be able to, actually get that full breath. Make sure you're up and open. Maybe shoot it or cast it to your TV or, something like that. So that way you can be up and open during that breath.
Well, then, you know what? We'll send more patients to you because they're all hunched and over their computer.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure I'll see a surge after this is all done. Everybody just sitting and watching Netflix and,
right. And then the other thing is to be joyful and to practice gratitude, because that's great for our immune system. It's associated with higher lymphocytic counts and functions. And what that means is our body makes more white blood cells to be able to fight off infection. So I have my patients journal literally 3 things that they're grateful for every day. And even with social distancing, this is the best time that we could connect to our inner spirit. We could do a loving kindness meditation to increase our sense of connectedness. So I even did a video last week that I shared with my patients, and I'm going to share it with you. And it's really, really simple. And we could do it. It's a simple affirmation. So I always say, put your hand on your heart chakra, relax, and say, may I live in truth without panic or fear.
Without panic and fear.
May I and my loved ones be safe during this time of uncertainty.
May I and my loved ones be safe during this time of uncertainty.
May I trust that everything will work out the way it's supposed to.
May I trust that everything will work out the way it's supposed to.
May my words, thoughts, and actions vibrate through the universe and reach all individuals on this planet.
May my words, thoughts, and actions vibrate through the universe and affect everyone on this planet.
So, thank you for doing that with me. Don't you feel better?
I do, yeah. It's like a calming. And that last part of it, continually, I try to think about that everything I think. So BJ Palmer, he's a developer of chiropractic. He said, you never know how much the things you think, say, and do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. So every little bit, can just ripples and it sends that wave. So what are we choosing to put out there? Like stress, vibration, or are we choosing to disperse, distress or not, use stress, healthy energy into the world? And so that was really, that last part is like, the actions that I take, the things that I think are going to not only affect my health, but even affect my immediate family.
Absolutely. So with that, I tell everybody, take this time that you have to rest, relax, and empower yourself and nourish your mind, body, and spirit, and be safe and stay healthy.
It's so good. And if I could piggyback off one thing that because I tell my patients, same thing, like in gratitude and all that stuff. But one thing I think a lot of, especially parents, are struggling with is I have all this time and nothing to do. And so one of my mottos is like, go to bed with a plan. That way you wake up with a purpose. If you
I love that. Say that again, Chris.
Go to bed with a plan and you wake up with a purpose.
That's great.
And that way you have goals, even if it's, I'm going to make my bed and I'm going to do the dishes. Like, those are things that you can check off so that I accomplished something. You can even do it for the kids, have the kids make their bed or have the kids pick up their own clothes or, whatever it is. The feeling of accomplishment is a reward. It triggers the brain to continue to want to do things. So even if you have that closet that you've been meaning to clean or garage that you've been meaning to clean, don't think you have to do it all at once. Like, start with little things, clean one shelf, do something, and that's going to encourage, more and more of those behaviors.
And you know what, you're so right. The other thing, we always say we don't have time to do things. Well, now we have time, right? We have time to connect with our family, plenty of time. Right. And count our blessings. I mean, we're so blessed. We're so blessed just to be here in California. We're so blessed to be healthy. We're so blessed to have, access to fresh fruits and vegetables. I mean, little things. So if you just journal instead of like typing every day, just 3 things that you're grateful for, you're blessed with. I mean, we're all abundant. Right. We have abundance.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Any closing remarks or anything else you'd like to add?
I think I just want everyone to be safe and healthy. And like I said, relax, nourish, and your mind, body, spirit.
Yeah. If people, are you seeing patients
Chris?
right now if somebody is interested?
Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of my patients are still virtual, but actually I'm seeing one of your patients who has a cough and cold and fever. So we're doing a virtual visit right after this.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Well, I'll put your information in the comments if anybody wants to know more about you or your website and things like that. I can't recommend you enough. Everything's been super helpful with having you on our health team.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much, Chris. I'm so honored to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.